What is up, guys? APOC here, super stoked to be back to you with another Brawl Stars video. How are you guys all doing? I'm having a fantastic day, and I hope you are as well. Before we get on to the video, I want to give a quick shout out to the Weekly Brawlers. My good friends work there, and it's basically just a group of community built together. Designers, artists, and the writers come up and they write guides and whatnot for the community and the brawler concepts and whatnot. Really amazing group, and if you're interested in becoming a part of them, hit me up on Discord and I'll hook you up and whatnot, and we'll go from there. Anyways, today we're jumping right into an advanced Brawl Ball guide brought to you by two pros, Master Walrus and Sandy Cheeks. Both amazing players in Brawl Ball. Alright, so let's get on to the first tip of the day, which I think is one of the most important general tips, which is to play with people you work well with. Always play with a team. So basically, in Brawl Ball, it's really easy to win with randoms, in their opinion and in my opinion. But once you start hitting that mark where you're facing pros, which is actually, if you're playing a brawler right now in our current meta, in our current stage, if you play a brawler that's above 400, you're more likely to face pros than you are to play with a brawler under 400. And that's just what I personally have seen. So if you have a lot that's still under 300 or under 400, play with those instead of playing with the 400s. It reduces your likelihood to face a 500 plus. So yeah. So tip number one is play with someone that you can coordinate well with, and yeah, you'll pretty much win almost every single time. Not guarantee every single time, but most of the time you will. Next, number two is to have a wall breaker. It's really good to have one, but you don't need one necessarily to win. It just makes it a lot easier, especially because if you have the walls up, there's only two choke points that you can go through to score, whereas if you break a wall, you can just go straight through and hit the goal, and it saves you time as well as you don't have to. It reduces the likelihood that you're stopped when you're trying to score the ball and whatnot. So tip number three is, unless you see a perfect opportunity to score when there's the enemies are right around you, don't score, hold on to the ball, or else you'll just give up your position and give up your ball, and that's kind of a disadvantage sometimes, the majority of the time. So if you don't see a perfect opportunity to score, try not to score. Next is also giving up the ball to kind of ruin your opponent's super charge. So if you see a Shelly about to charge and about to hit you, and just give them the ball and they'll just waste their super, it's really a really smart idea. So yeah, anyways, next is if you're ever backed into your spawn by your opposing team, or you're in a really picky situation, throw the ball the farthest away from your goal or the farthest away from your opponents, where it takes the longest time for them to score on you. So, and usually most cases, just throw it into the corner, and then you'll have your hands free to shoot at the opponents, or just throw it wherever that's farthest away from the goal, so it takes them as long as possible to reach the ball. And along with that, there's a good chance that you might respawn in the corner where you threw the ball to, so that's always like a 50-50 chance, either spawn on this side or that side, but yeah. So tip number five is try to have some brawler synergy, what that means is, for example, if you have a Tara and maybe a Spike or a Mike or whatever it is, as soon as Tara, supers, try to have another person on your team super at the same time. So it's kind of like working together, teamwork basically. And for another thing is, if you have a Tara super or if you use Tara, you can break a wall with Tara. Tara is a wall breaker, if you guys didn't know that. So if there is an opponent hiding behind the wall, and they're protecting from you scoring the goal, go ahead and suck them in as you break the wall which, you know, you suck them, and as well as breaking up the wall for an opening for you to score. So that's something to keep in mind. And yeah, next is to stay on meta. As much as it sounds like rhetorical, playing the brawler who isn't very good at the point, it's just, it reduces your likelihood to win. So try to stay in meta rather than playing a non-meta brawler. So right now, Frank is really in meta right now. So I don't know what they did, but they broke him. Like, anyways, Mike is really meta. So if you haven't had your Mike at 500 yet, go ahead and play him. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't play a non-meta brawler that you don't have 500 yet. It's just a little less easier to win, I guess. But yeah, so try to stay in meta if possible. But if you prefer to max out a brawler, go ahead and do that. And yeah, so next is a cancel or bait super, which I talked about a little bit before this tip actually. So if you see a Shelly super the ball or if you see a Shelly about to super you, pass her the ball and she'll super shoot it instead of supering you, if that makes sense. Next is try to fake someone out. Try to fake them out, you know. Try to, like, if you're playing Mortis, which is really important to have the skills to fake people out. What I mean is, you know, to fake out supers or to fake out attacks. Make them waste their attacks. Make them think that you're trying to score the ball, but then you're not scoring the ball. Does that make sense? So yeah, anyways, if you have brawlers like Shelly, Tara, Primo, Frank, it's really easy to cancel each other's super out. Actually, not Frank, because whoever supers first wins, basically. But yeah, like Shelly, Tara, Primo, they cancel each other's super out. So yeah. Anyways, maintaining supers or farming up supers is one really important and really dangerous. Trying not to feed. Try not to feed, and if you're new to the game or if you don't know what it means, feeding is basically where you just let your opponents farm up their super. So try not to take damage, try to avoid getting shots, but also don't do it so much where you're just afraid of getting damage and you're doing nothing for your team. So really maintain that balance where you're not feeding them too much, but you're also able to farm up your own super, and that's really important. And really the key is to just maintain that ball. And yeah, so that's pretty much it for the tips. Let's get on to what compositions are really the best right now. So Frank, use it for everything. Frank for everything. Frank, and you'll pretty much win. So for triple dribble, Frank, Tara, and maybe a Mortis, a Spike, a Shelly, a Primo, or a Nita. And for pinhole, Frank, Tara, a Mortis, a Spike, Shelly, Primo, Nita, Poco, Jessie, really good. And the backyard is really kind of similar to pinhole, and you can just make the comps out of whatever brawlers that I mentioned out of those. And Crow is actually pretty decent for pinhole too. And that is pretty much it, guys. If I went too fast, feel free to ask any questions in the comments below, and I will answer that. I'll try to answer it really fast. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I will see you all in the next video. Have a great day. Peace out.